Hi, my name is Dr. Kevin Gazzara with Magna Leadership Solutions, and we're so glad that you're here to join us for this series of tips from our organization.
Hi, and I'm Tim Galusha. Glad to be here with you. Can't wait to share a few of these things we've learned over a lifetime of learning.
In this video, we're going to talk about a concept called flow, and I don't know whether you've ever heard of this concept or not. But my guess is you probably have heard of it, but possibly under a different name. The concept of flow was actually developed in the 80s by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And Dr. Csikszentmihalyi was the department chair of the University of Chicago for the Department of Psychology, a brilliant guy. And he came up with this concept of flow, or what was retermed in the 90s as being in the zone. I'm probably sure that many people have heard about that. Tim, you've heard about it.
So we think about Michael Jordan being in the zone. And when he was in the zone, it was unstoppable. And the baskets just went in and went in and went in and went in. So a good example of someone who's in the zone, Michael Jordan.
Yeah. So, and the reason that this is so important is I was fortunate enough to read his book on flow, and I really encourage the viewers here to pick it up. It's an awesome, one of the top 5 books that I would recommend for anyone to read. And it's really about how do we get into that place, that flow situation, in a way that really raises our level of engagement, and also it creates this incredible creativity. And the concept of flow is based around 2 very, very simple ideas. It happens when you have the balance of challenge and skill. It's where that intersection meets on the graph, where I have the right level of skill and you give me the right level of challenge. So as a manager, as an employee, even as a parent, right, that you give me that right level of challenge, and it gets me in the flow, and I become so engaged that typically the sense of time completely goes away.
Yeah, and it's not hard to understand when you give me work that is too challenging, that I don't have the skill for. What does it create? It creates anxiety, right? But when you give me work that doesn't challenge me and is so routine that it doesn't offer any intellectual stimulation, like say putting me in a call center, well, then I'm bored. And you don't get the best performance of people when they're under anxiety or when they're feeling bored. And so the challenge is to find that middle ground, that just that right spot, so they're in the flow between challenge and skill.
And it may seem very simplistic. We've used this in call centers. We've done this at a nursing home in Maine, and we've also done it with executive organizations, CEOs and their staffs in Silicon Valley. It's a very, very simple concept of balancing challenge and skill. And ultimately, when you get people to understand where they are working on a regular basis, whether it's anxiety, as Tim talked about, or boredom, or they're getting closer to the flow zone, it really will give you a great insight to which of these people are going to be staying, which ones you're going to get the discretionary effort that we talked about before, and it also can be used as a development tool. I mean, it's very, very powerful, and we see very few organizations using this, and it's so simple, so easy to do, and the results are amazing, and it pretty much doesn't cost you a dime.
No, and I think for managers and leaders, it's such an easy tool to deploy when they're thinking about delegating work and developing the people that work for them. Having that conversation around, what's creating anxiety, what are they bored, where do they feel their skill level is, so that you're always just pushing them a little bit on the edge of a little bit more challenge than they're used to, something that gives them a little bit of stress, because a little bit of stress is good, right? Not too much. So when you're always pushing, always developing, then they get in the flow and they go faster and do better work for you.
Well, and the other thing that happens is, they feel like they have some autonomy, right, of control of their world. They're able to master different things because, as you mentioned before, they're raising that level of skill. And ultimately, in what we've seen with really great managers and leaders is they tie the element of purpose of not only do I want you to just get better, you talk about the relationship of what happens when this happens and how that affects the organization, as well as how does that affect them for their own personal and professional development.
Well, and we can tie this to one of our other videos where we talk about really focusing on new hires and their development, focusing on their goals, their aspirations, where do they want to go. And once you understand what it is that they're looking for, then as you provide the work, and it's more about them and them reaching their goals and desires, you just get a whole lot more bang for your buck.
Absolutely. So here's our request, or our one thing that you can do this week is you can go to our site and download some of the information with regard to flow. You can go read about it. There's thousands of articles on this. The one thing we're going to ask you to do is to map out what you're doing to see where are the areas that you can get better as a manager, what's engaging you, what is not. You have that conversation with your manager, and if that goes well, is to translate that into your staff and have that conversation. It's a wonderful conversation starter.
Well, and you can look for things that you've done so often that are really boring to you, but they might be just the right challenge for your direct report. And so when you think about delegating, you're not just pushing something off the desk and say, oh, this is boring to me, you should do this. Instead, you can reframe it, and we had this conversation about where you want to go and your advancement. Here's a great building block for you, and something that I'm going to hand off because I've already gotten the best use out of that building block. I've already overcome that challenge.
Great tip. Good. Thanks for watching the video. One of the things that we like to do is really help others be successful using the servant leadership model. And both Tim and I have been practitioners in industry for over 30 years. We'd like to share some of the tips and tricks to help you get to that next level of leadership with your organization so that you can be kind of recognized at the level of your full potential. And if that makes sense, please contact us at magnaleadership.com or click the link in this video, and you can set up time for a discussion with us. We would love to help you. Absolutely no sales pitch. We're here to help you be more successful.